first thing that I experienced was denial.
Came up behind her with some pans and I banged them together and she didn't even flinch.
So my baby can't hear. And what do you do?
I wanted to be able to say, I love you, and I wanted to hear her say, I love you, Daddy.
You can barely believe that there's kind of light at the end of the tunnel when you first learn that your child has a hearing loss.
It breaks your heart. How do I fix my child?
It is hard to hear that your child has profound hearing loss, but it's okay. It's going to be okay.
We live in a time that we have access to this incredible technology, and the technology is so good now.
A cochlear implant is a surgical device to help people with a severe to profound hearing loss hear. So what happens is the surgeon implants an internal device like this behind the ear under the skin, and then there's an electrode array that goes down inside the cochlea. So on the outside, they wear a speech processor over their ear, and it attaches to a magnet inside their head. The sound is then transmitted from the external piece into the internal piece, and it electrically stimulates their auditory nerve and gives them access to sound.
I started out at 9 months.
I started at 18 months and then I graduated at 5 years old.
We learned early on that it was the children that did well, who learned to become very facile with speech and language, were the children who were identified early.
From 0 to 3 is the best time for language to begin to develop. If I didn't make the choice then, I would be denying him language. I would be denying him the possibility of communicating with the world at large.
As a parent, I feel that my responsibility is to make choices for my child.
Less than 1% of deaf and hard of hearing kids were going to college, and this is like 2002, 2003 when I'm doing the research. 2/3 of deaf and hard of hearing kids or people, adults, rely on federal assistance because they're unemployed or underemployed for their entire life. We chose cochlear implants and oral language because it doesn't close the doors. It doesn't limit what Stephen can do.
Oh, who's this?
There is a plethora of information and research out there now that shows that cochlear implants do what the researchers and creators said that they would do. Children are being able to be mainstreamed early on in their educational path.
If she wants to learn sign, and when she gets older, if she wants to be a part of the deaf world and the deaf culture, that's a choice that she can make. I want June to be able to go to a hearing school and have hearing friends, and but I also want June to understand, and she will know, that she's deaf.
If a child is diagnosed with a hearing loss through our newborn hearing program, they're introduced to the parent-infant program. And a part of the parent-infant program is parent education. What is hearing loss? How does this affect my child?
PEI helps kids learn how to read. It taught me how to speak.
You know, the cochlear implants are a tool, but it needs to be followed up with the education, or it's like giving you a computer and not telling you how to use it.
The teachers here are doing an amazing job.
Good job.
They're taking care of our children and helping them. They're really, it's a holistic approach where they're teaching them through their daily activities in the classroom how to speak and how to listen and how to respond to environmental sounds.
At school, I like doing art, music, science, PE. I'm okay with Spanish, but it's not my favorite.
It's so great to give somebody the access to sound and the ability to hear again. And now they're doing more activities with their families, with their friends. They're going to meetings. They're getting jobs again because they can hear and they can participate.
One of the things that we have observed is just this explosion in language, and not just receptive language, but her spoken language is amazing.
Okay, we'll drop the green ball in the bag.
You know, I can remember thinking to myself, am I ever going to hear her speak? Sorry. Am I, is she ever going to say anything to me? And she doesn't stop talking now. And I will never tell her to stop speaking, because it's a beautiful thing to hear her speak. And she's doing better than I could have ever imagined.
And then they turned him on. He heard a sound. He stopped. And he looked around. And I held him, and my mom hugged me, and I cried in her arms, and I said, he'll be able to hear that I love him.
There's a great support system within PEI if you want your child to hear.
And it was one of the most emotional things ever. It was hard, it was crazy, it was wonderful, and it was absolutely the right choice.